If you're constantly pulling weeds and they keep coming back no matter what you do, you're not alone in this struggle. But here's the part most gardeners never realize. It's not that weeds are too strong. It's that your garden might be unknowingly helping them grow. In fact, many people are creating the perfect conditions for weeds without even knowing it. And the more you fight them the hard way, the worse it gets. But what if you could stop weeds before they even start? Without chemicals, without constant digging, and without exhausting yourself? In this video, you'll discover 7 powerful plants that naturally stop weeds, and more importantly, why they work so effectively. Once you understand this, your entire approach to gardening changes. Instead of constantly removing weeds, you'll learn how to prevent them completely using simple, low-maintenance methods. By the end, you'll know exactly how to turn your garden into a self-protecting space that stays clean, healthy, and beautiful with far less effort. Most people think gardening means hard work, endless weeding, bending, digging, and maintaining. And if you've ever spent hours clearing weeds only to see them come back a week later, you know how frustrating that feels. But smart gardeners don't fight nature. They work with it. They use plants strategically to do the hard work for them. And once you understand how this works, gardening becomes easier, calmer, and far more enjoyable. And make sure you stay until the end, because one of these plants doesn't just stop weeds, it actually improves your soil at the same time, making your entire garden stronger over time. And let's start with something most people overlook. Weeds don't just appear randomly. They grow where conditions allow them to thrive. Bare soil, too much sunlight hitting the ground, and weak or unbalanced soil create the perfect environment for weeds to take over. So if you keep seeing weeds, it's usually a sign, not just a problem. Now here's where things get interesting. Smart gardeners use something called living mulch. This simply means using plants to cover the soil, block sunlight, and take up space so weeds have no room to grow. And once you start doing this, everything changes. First plant, creeping thyme. Most people underestimate this one. Creeping thyme is a low-growing plant that spreads across the soil like a natural carpet. It doesn't just look beautiful, it actively blocks weeds from growing. The reason it works is simple, and it grows thick and close to the ground, covering the soil so sunlight can't reach weed seeds. And without sunlight, weeds can't grow. Over time, it creates a dense, soft layer that protects your soil and keeps your garden looking neat. Imagine a space where weeds simply don't have the chance to appear. That's what creeping thyme creates. To use it effectively, plant it in sunny areas where weeds usually take over, like pathways, edges, or open garden beds. Next, clover. Now this is where many gardeners get surprised. Clover is often seen as a weed itself, but in reality, it's one of the best natural weed suppressors you can use. It works because it grows quickly and fills empty spaces before weeds get the chance. But that's not all. Clover also improves your soil by adding nutrients back into it. So not only are you stopping weeds, you're making your garden healthier at the same time. Picture your garden soil covered in a soft green layer that feeds your plants while keeping weeds out. To use clover, plant it in open areas or mix it into your lawn where weeds tend to appear. Now here's something most people get wrong. They leave gaps in their garden, and those gaps are exactly where weeds start. So let's move to the next plant. Hostas. If you have shaded areas where nothing seems to grow well, this is your solution. Hostas are large, leafy plants that create dense shade over the soil, and that shade is what stops weeds. Weeds need light to grow. Take that away, and they struggle to survive. Hostas naturally block that light with their wide leaves, creating a cool, protected space underneath. The result? Fewer weeds, healthier soil, and a fuller-looking garden. Plant them under trees, along shaded borders, or anywhere sunlight is limited. Now, the next plant is where things get even more powerful. Because it doesn't just block weeds, it actually releases natural compounds that prevent them from growing in the first place. Mint. Yes, mint. But this one comes with a warning. Mint spreads aggressively. That's exactly why it's so effective at stopping weeds. It grows fast, takes over space, and leaves no room for unwanted plants. But here's the deeper reason it works. Mint releases natural chemicals into the soil that can suppress the growth of nearby plants. This is called allelopathy, and it's one of nature's smartest defenses. So when used correctly, mint becomes a powerful barrier against weeds, but you need to control it. Plant it in containers or confined areas so it doesn't take over your entire garden. Used wisely, it can be one of your strongest tools. Now, let's talk about something softer, but just as powerful. Ferns. Ferns thrive in shaded, moist environments where weeds often struggle. They grow in clusters, creating a thick layer that covers the ground. The reason they work is simple. they occupy space and reduce the chances for weeds to settle in. And visually, they bring a calm, natural feel to your garden. Think of a peaceful, green corner where everything feels balanced and effortless. Plant ferns in shaded areas, especially where other plants struggle to grow. Here's another one many people overlook: ground ivy. This is a fast-spreading ground cover that fills empty spaces quickly. It works by outcompeting weeds. And instead of fighting weeds directly, it simply takes over the space before weeds can. Once established, it forms a dense mat that protects the soil and blocks unwanted growth. Use it in areas where weeds keep returning, especially along borders or difficult spots. Now, before we move to the final plant, let's talk about a mistake that keeps weeds coming back no matter what you plant. Most people leave their soil exposed. Even after planting, they leave gaps. And those gaps are invitations for weeds. Another mistake is overwatering. Too much moisture creates the perfect environment for weeds to grow faster than your plants. And finally, planting aggressive plants without control can create a different kind of problem, one where your solution becomes the new issue. The key is balance. Now for the final plant. And this one changes everything. Is sweet woodruff. This plant is incredibly powerful and very underrated. It spreads gently but effectively, creating a soft green layer that covers the soil completely. But here's what makes it special. It thrives in shade and creates a stable environment where weeds struggle to grow. Over time, it builds a natural system where your soil stays protected, moisture is balanced, and weeds have no opportunity to take hold. It's not just a plant, it's a long-term solution. Planted under trees, in shaded beds, or anywhere you want a low-maintenance ground cover. Now here's the real secret. It's not just about planting these individually, it's about combining them. When you layer plants, using taller plants for shade and ground covers for soil protection, you create a complete system. This system blocks sunlight, fills space, and stabilizes the soil. And once that system is in place, weeds don't stand a chance. Instead of constantly working against nature, you create a garden that works for you. And that's where gardening becomes truly effortless. When you start using plants this way, everything changes. You stop chasing weeds and start preventing them. Your garden becomes calmer, easier to manage, and far more enjoyable. Less digging, less stress, better results, and over time, your garden begins to take care of itself. That's the power of smart, effortless gardening. If you found this helpful and you want more simple ways to grow a beautiful garden without the stress, make sure you subscribe to Stress-Free Garden Living. Because here, we focus on helping you grow more with less effort, so you can enjoy your garden without constantly working on it. And I'd love to hear from you. Which of these plants are you most excited to try in your garden? Or is there a spot in your garden where weeds just won't go away? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one, and your question might inspire the next video. And remember, gardening doesn't have to be hard. It just has to be smart.